Right then, I'm here today with the Baron David Ward. So we're just going to do just normal conversation, very similar to like I did with Anthony Babalu yesterday, just to give the breakdown of the people that are coming into awareness now of what's been going on, to give it a little bit more depth and to understanding to all the people out there that have, because there's many people out there that have been trying to bring in the solutions for us all, but ultimately the solutions, they really are all there in front of our faces, and all we needed to do. I mean, it was like I was watching the other day, someone saying about who gave authority over a man, and ultimately authority only comes by consent, by you giving that authority up. And the tricks and the traps that they've done, so that it was always the lack of the knowledge that we was giving our consent without even realizing it, when all we realistically we had to do. I mean, when I read the Baron's his affidavit and statement that he created, it was one little trigger that went in the head, which was very poignant, which was, what have I got to get out of? Stop trying to defend yourself. There's nothing to defend. The onus is on the person that is making the claim. So anybody who's making a claim against you, the duty is the vice versa, on the same on yourself. You can't make statements or claims about people unless you have the material evidence to substantiate that claim. Otherwise, you're just slandering, and that's not wrong. That is wrong, and you can get in trouble. And vice versa, if you can get in trouble, remember, because it's a rule one, rule equal. We're all equal here. Maybe not in the levels of intelligence, but the point is, when the people are good people, if somebody is not at the level of intelligence, you wouldn't tend to screw them over, which is the system that it is. Let those that are deceived be deceived. We're here to try and bring people up so that you no longer can be deceived, because as a united, with the unity of the people, if we was all of the awareness of what it is going on here, the bad people, the cabal, or whatever you want to call these people that are doing this, will lose their control, and the people will stop feeding them, which is giving them the power, because they have no power. The only power that they have is through our lack of knowledge that they're abusing. And we know all about the people that have done the research into things to understand exactly, the tricks and traps and the multi-layers of deception, so that we can't see clearly. But hopefully, with what myself and the Baron will be talking about, it will shine a light on the simplistics of really, knowing who we are, knowing our own powers, knowing what we can do, therefore what anybody else can do too. So we're just going to have just a general chitter chatter, and how it leads and where it leads. But ultimately, we have got an end solution to what it is, because we will be actually asking if there are any programmers out there, or some techo people that are on board and that are in the same volition, that want to bring back correctness to this world, with the solutions that are being provided. And those solutions we will talk about through this conversation that myself and David will be having. So first things first, for the people out there who haven't seen, I've done that, and I will attach it to this link, the Baron David Ward's affidavit and statement, which to me should be everyone must read it, because it's self-explanatory. It's written very plain and simple, nothing complicated, and it really just should rock home to you exactly why you've been allowing yourself to be scared, when realistically there was never anything to be scared about. And it was only the doubt, the lacking of that knowledge, or not having the ability to ask the right questions, or knowing what questions to ask, to why you fell into the traps of, i.e., fake courts, or these all this counterfeit, this fictional matrix that's trapped everybody and controlling their minds through the lack of the knowledge. And that's purely the only reason they are in control of you. and through the creation of the money and what they've been doing with the money and the taxation. And anyway, so that's, like I say, it'll lead into that. So how you doing, David? So I mean, I don't know where. I mean, I know we just had a long conversation. We wasn't recording it, but basically, if we go back to, if we go,
and I was going off on one. Arms are flying everywhere. Yeah.
if we go back, I mean, let's go back to so. Well, I mean, because that's about it. Because realistically, what we was basically saying is that there are obviously members of government or people in positions of power, alleged power. These people that are in these positions, yeah, there's obviously some of them that are giving out or giving that information because they've got to tell you, they've got to put it in plain sight. So the likes of Jack Beeston and Shadran, is it Shadran Kafutis?
Kakuthas, yeah.
Yeah, these people that put out some valid information, and this basically stemmed from when you went into deep research because of a tax return that you did that made you aware of certain things that made you dig a lot deeper to see what you saw. So
yeah, everyone comes to a point in their time, well, a lot of people these days are, because of the situation that everybody is in. You come to a point where you close your toolbox, you say, what is going on? Okay. And that for me was in 2008. The tax man had sent me like £7,000 worth of tax back. And, it's happy days. There is a God. I just paid a load of tax on a contract that I'd done. They give me some tax back. Brilliant. So you spend it because you pay off your credit cards, you pay your bills, and the money's gone. And then he wants it tax back. He wants it back again. He's sending me a letter saying, there seems to be a problem here, and an inexactness in your tax return. Send us your P60 and your wage receipt, your wage slips, and we'll sort it out. But if you got to give it us back, then you got to give it us back. If you don't give us back, you're going to jail. I thought, whoa, what is that? What is this guy saying? Because I didn't know anything back in 2008. I was at that start point of doing deep research. And so I was as much an ignorant fool in 2008 as anybody else was, or anybody else can be, and I will hold my hand up to that every day of the week and say that as an absolute fact. This hasn't happened to me like overnight. I've had a great revelation. Someone's plugged in a USB pen. This has been the results of 12 years hard work that people don't seem to do the deep research into finding out the absolute facts, which cannot be contested and just say, well, it's a load of bollocks. No, this is the closure.
That's what gives the closure, so that you've got your
yeah. These are the absolute facts, sunshine, and you can't get away with it. Yeah. And it all started for me in 2008 because of this tax man.
Yeah.
And I don't want to go through the whole details, the technicalities, because he sent me a screenshot and I'm the techie guy, and there's something wrong with your website, monkey boy, because you can't do this. I don't want to go into them kind of technical because I'll be here all day. Yeah. But the outcome of that was that the tax man then tried to start proceedings in the Northampton County Court Bulk Clearance Centre. Well, if you look at the paperwork, it's the Bulk Clearance Centre. If you look up the Bulk Clearance Centre, that's a company inside the same building as the Northampton County Court. So it's got the same address, and it's fake paperwork. It's absolutely fake paperwork. So, as an end result of that, in 2008, I actually wrote a long and extensive document to the Lord Chief Justice saying, hey, monkey boy, you've got a problem here, and it's a big problem. First of all, you've got these people committing fraud inside your office with fake paperwork, and you've got this problem here about the legislative rule giving false. This is on your shoulders, son. You need to sort this shit out. And I sent that letter to the Lord Chief. I didn't even know who the Lord Chief Justice was. I just sent it to the Lord Chief Justice. It was a big, thick envelope. You've got a problem, son. You're the guy at the top of the hill. You've got to sort your shit out. Because I don't take prisoners. If I see someone, I'm going to tell him because he might not know.
Exactly.
So he gets told.
Yeah. this is the thing about the duty of the people. You see, if we
Yeah.
don't hold people to account, then we're responsible for the fact that they're doing the wrongs, because they can only the only reason they can do the wrong is because we're not holding them to account. So the onus is on us. Don't forget that it's a double whammy. If there's people in those positions that we allege to be power, they've been given that power by the people. And if those people can do the wrong things, and we the people don't stand up and hold them and pull them to account, then they're going to continue. They will always get away with it if they're allowed to get away with it. So,
well, they've been getting away with it in the current form of a government for the past 800 years, and it's outright criminal, and they know it's outright criminal. You know, the government structure, the government infrastructure, is one of complete compartmentalization. You've got all these different offices, and they cannot and do not interact with each other. They are absolutely pinned down and compartmentalized in their office. And so work outside of that office with another department, they've got to jump through all kinds of hurdles.
yeah.
And there's a lot of people in government, like the chief of police commissioner. He became aware, and I can't remember what his name is, it doesn't matter. He became aware of the crime inside the police, and he's saying on a mic somewhere, there's nothing that I can do. That's right. It's because he's compartmentalized in his own office, and there's nothing he can do. Quite literally, yeah. And that's a conversation I actually had in 2000 in no early 2017, yeah, because I had social services for adult care in my house. Previously to that, they've been trying to section me and get me to take an assessment with one of their government licensed psychologists, because basically they want to lock me up in a loony bin.
Right.
So social service for adult care are trying to lock me up with a loony bin, but I nailed their candy ass hard with one letter and the affidavit, and they ran for the hills. Literally, it was, oh my God, yeah. Because that's how powerful the affidavit is. This affidavit is absolute cast iron facts backed up by the government themselves. Shadrach Cathutus gave that definition of the word state in 2008. And a state is a company no different to McDonald's. Well, he was told to do that. He would not have done that unless he was told to do it.
Yeah.
He'd have got fired. And it wouldn't be doctrine where you can quote that and quote Shadrach Cathutus if you are a law degree student taking law for your law degree, and you can quote that in your thesis. This is doctrine. It's in there. You cannot deny it. It cannot be denied. So Shadrach Cathutus was told to make that definition of the word state, where the state is a company, and therefore, if it's a company, it's no different to McDonald's. So he did. And the Lord Chief Justice, Sir Jack Beatson FBA, he did the same thing. For 800 years, the judiciary have maintained independent jurisdiction separate from the government, because if they haven't, there's a conflict of interest. And what the Lord Chief Justice did in 2008 in the Nottingham and Trent Law University stated categorically that the office of the judiciary is a sub-office of the states. When he said, and when he spoke the words that due to the change in 2003, it became necessary to reevaluate the relationship, right? There is a relationship between the judiciary and the two stronger branches of the states. Right, so he's the third office down because he's two stronger branches above him. And there is a direct relationship now, not a separation of powers.
Yeah.
So that's a 108-degree reversal from what the judiciary have been saying for 800 years. Jack Beatson is not going to say that. He's a Lord Chief Justice. He's a smart guy. He's not going to go to the Nottingham and Trent Law University to give this speech unless he was told to do it. And it would not be on the judiciary's website where you can download it and read it today. It wouldn't be there unless he was told to do it. And that happened in 2008. That's 5 years before I won the case.
He must have been given the clearance to do that, because otherwise that would have never been allowed to have gone out.
It would never have been allowed to happen. So what does that say to people? It says that The government or the cabal or whatever you want to call them, they're shutting up shop. They're closing down. They're withdrawing. Now, they can't actually withdraw because they're leaving such a mess behind them that they've willfully created themselves. Okay, which brings us to the tax. There was no tax at all before World War One. Well, there was once in history before World War One where there was a tax, a PAYE kind of tax on income, and that was in the Napoleonic War. Excuse me.
Oh, your microphone's gone. Your microphone's gone, David. David, your microphone's gone. It stopped working. Your microphone stopped working. Is it plugged in? There you go. That's it. There you go.
Yeah, you're back again now.
You're back again now. Yeah.
I probably nudged the sheet.
So you were saying that. Well, basically, we'll go back to where you said there was never a tax. The only ever tax before that was at the Napoleon.
Right, the Napoleonic War was the only time in history that there was a PAYE kind of tax, and it was 2% on gross, and it was to pay for the war. And after the war ended with the Napoleonic War, and obviously we won because the nation paid for the war, then the tax was abolished and all the paperwork was pulped. Now that's in the history books. It's written in history. I found it. Someone else can find it. It's there. Otherwise, how would I know? It was actually in a report given by one of the opposition, and I can't remember which one it was, one of the opposition parties that was stating this in some paperwork they were doing. Yeah. Talking about the tax. Now, since World War One, the tax has been ramped up, and this is deliberate. This is no accident. You know, you have a world war, you reintroduce a tax, and then you keep increasing the tax, you keep increasing the duty, and then you bring in the VAT, and it started out at 5%, and then it goes up, and it goes up, and it goes up. Well, what happens to all that tax? You get to a point where there is no return path for that tax to come back into economics because it's taken out. Everything's paid for. You can't bring that money back in to pay for something because there's no way of doing that. So this has been a deliberate economic sabotage on a world basis where the end result is that in 2008, again, Greece went bust. And then Iceland went bust, I think it was in 2011. And then Venezuela went bust in 2017. A country goes bust. How does a whole country go bankrupt in a hypothetical construct of economics where it's all made up yada yada crap anyway? You know, fiat currency is based on confidence and belief. You've not got a limited resource such as gold or silver anymore. You can make as much resource of fiat currency as you like.
Absolutely.
But they're taking it out in the tax, which places you in debt because you've not got the means to live anymore. So you're going to turn to your credit cards, you're going to turn to your bank loans because you're broke. Right. So they're placing you in debt. And this is engineered. And it's been engineered that way, exactly that way, for the past 100 years since when was the beginning of World War One? 1914, I think. So you're talking 100 years of slowly incrementation of a tax on top of the tax on top of the tax. And it's not just in the UK, this is worldwide. Yeah. So you've got to come up with a solution that is an economic solution. Well, okay, Jack Beatston and Shad Randy did their thing in 2008. I had the Barney with the tax man in 2008. I wrote that letter to the Lord Chief Justice in 2008. How much of this overlaps with what the government are actually doing anyway? I don't know. Did I instigate that? Don't know or don't care. It's irrelevant. The facts are still the facts. Yeah. So in 2012, okay, the Pope Benedict quit the job due to ill health. Well, no Pope in the past has ever quit the job due to ill health in 2,000 years. So, you know, there's a relevance there. Where does that relevance come from? Well, in 79, being a much younger man than I am today, I was 18. I actually went to Rome. I went on a retreat because there was the what was called the Holy Shroud. It was a shroud of Christ that was apparently wrapped around him when he was put into the tomb, and it was on display. Yeah. So we went, coach load of us went to go and see this thing. Yeah. I want to go and see it. So we all went to see it. Now, because there was a coach load of us, you're on the tour in St. Paul's. You got the tour guide giving you the tour. And the tour guide pointed up to the round the top of the walls, round the ceiling, yeah, all around this room. There's 112, exactly 112 positions for portraits, and all the popes are in it, and there's 2 empty spaces. Now, in 79, the current pope then was Pope John Paul, so he was going in one, and then the pope after him, which would be Pope Benedict, he was going in the other. Well, what happens when you've got no more spaces for popes? You know, we've got some smart people in our group, and they said that to the tour guide. Oh, it must be the end of the world. You know, he hasn't got an answer for that. It must be the end of the world because he doesn't know. Well, you're talking about things that have been planned now for the now time 2,000 years ago. And the book of Exodus is the book of the exits. Exodus means exits. Well, it's not the end of the world. It's the end of the cabal. It's the cabal shutting up shop. Whether you call it the cabal or the deep states or whatever word you want to use for these people, the hidden, they are shutting up shop. Bye, guys. We're on our way out. Have a nice day. I don't care why, but they are going. And the facts are there, you know. It's set in stone. It's round St. Paul's with all them 112 places for the portraits of popes, and now they're all full. Well, what does that mean? Well, that is what it means. And it's in the book of Exodus, which is the end times. The end times of what?
Yeah.
You know, the facts are there if you go and look for the facts, but you've got to go and look. You've got to put the time in and the work in and the effort and dig in the deep and actually find out what the facts are. So this, the case that I won in 2013, I knew what I was doing. You know, whether or not I was going to actually win that case, hey, who knows? You do stuff, you write up the documents, you put them in the post, and it's gone. And what happens after that happens after that. There's no, do I actually know what the results will be? No, I don't. You do it because that's the right thing to do. So I drafted up that tribunal document, sent it, and put it in the post. I ain't paying your. I know that the definition of the word statutes has been completely wrong, because if you look up the etymology of the word, the origination of the word of statutes, it's from the Latin statutus. And the Latin statutus in English means a statue, an object, you know, a statue, a physical thing. And you cannot have an obligation to a statue. An obligation is a contract. It's moronic. When you replace the word, it go, you know, your linguistical what's that word we were talking about earlier on? Yeah, it's just left me head. The linguistical tactility. I'm using the wrong word now because I can't think of the right word. Syntax. The syntax of the language falls apart. Yeah. It's because the taxman said in a letter, I have a statutory obligation to pay my tax. So replace the word. I have a statute obligation to pay my tax. No, monkey boy, that's bollocks. Now you're talking jibber jabber. The syntax has just fell apart. It's Boolean logic, actually, which is not mathematics, it's linguistics. And a computer geek like myself, we know a lot about linguistics. I know more languages than I have fingers, but they're not spoken languages. They've got to be syntactically correct programming language, because if they're not syntactically correct, your program crashes and it doesn't work. Therefore, all your full stops have got to be in the right places. You've got to use all the correct language. Otherwise, your program doesn't work. It goes crash. And back in the days of Windows 98, it wouldn't be the program that crashed. The whole computer crashed. It took out the operating system with it. And yet I've been around computers a very long time. Before Windows 98. So, did I know that I would actually win that case? No, I didn't know I would win that case. You just do it. You get on with it. You do it because you know it's the right thing to do.
Yeah. So the case, just to run the case for the people that haven't seen it, and which will be also a part or inclusive of that affidavit and statement that I'll put up.
Yeah.
Basically, you was they tried to do you for a parking ticket, and you asked the questions, and they said it went under this act and statute, and you didn't say I don't want to pay the fine or anything like that. You said, like, can you show where I've given you the consent, because the act and statute, because of these other people, stated that the enforcement of any act or statute requires the consent of the governed. So, therefore, as you say, the onus is now on you, because you're telling me that that act or statute applies to me. So, the onus is now on you to provide the material evidence to substantiate that claim, meaning you must have a wet ink signature from me, because that's what consent equals to. So can you now show me that I've given you my consent? Then I can pay you gladly. I'll pay the fine, because obviously I've given you that consent, but I don't recall it. So can you show me that consent, basically?
Yeah. Exactly. If you're talking this word, obligations and liabilities, and it says quite clearly in the results of the tribunal that the appellant, which is Mr. David Ward, has no liability to pay the PCN. The word liability and the word obligation do not exist outside of a formal and legal contract signed by the parties in full knowledge and understanding without coercion or deception. That is what a contract is. That is what is legal. Okay. So those two words cannot exist outside of a contract, because then you've got force, then you've got an act of terrorism. You cannot say there you've got an obligation or a liability when there is not one that you've not agreed to. And to implement the use of force is then an act of terrorism. So this has been going on for 800 years and no one's known about it. And it only came to my attention because the taxman sent me a letter saying that I have a statutory obligation to pay my tax. And I'm going, well, I know what a contractual obligation is. I'm a contractor. I signed lots of contracts, but I don't know what that means. So now I'm going to find out. And the definition was not from statutus, was from the Latin. The definition, it completely changed the definition of the word. There is no comparison, and they hid that definition. You won't find it in the Oxford English Dictionary. That definition is hidden in the law dictionaries. Now, people don't read the dictionaries. I'd never read the dictionaries. I'm a dyslexic guy. I hate the pen. I hate writing things down. I'm an engineer. Give me a piece of chalk and I'll make things for you. But don't give me a pen. I hate them. So where was it going with that? The definition of the word statute is completely different to the etymology of the word and where the word came from. And he hid it in a law dictionary, which no one's going to read. Now, that's willful obfuscation. That's willfully hiding something so that the people in the general population are never going to know. You're never going to look it up. You're too busy working your tits off paying the tax. Yeah. So it takes real work, real dedication, real research to find the facts. And the facts are therefore dependable and can be relied upon because it's in a law dictionary. Now I've got you by the nuts, monkey boy, because show me where I have signed and given you my legal consent, like I did at the dentist or the doctors. Where is this piece of paper?
Just to recap, like you said, nobody's ever done it before. I will go one step further to say that basically the people that knew this, they went in the private and they stayed in the private and they keep their mouth shut. And these people have been getting away with it for a long, long time, but there's not been anyone out there like the Baron and others that are right now shouting about it and telling the people, the rest of the people, these people got their silence. These people, they can live very happily ever after, but just keep your mouth shut. Don't give out the secret, which is obviously what the Baron did by cracking them with the affidavit, because then, like I say, you've got the answer then, because, as you say, I mean, you'll never get the answer. What you'll get is silence, but silence is the answer.
Yeah.
By acquiescence, they can't deny it. So go on, sorry.
Which brings us to the affidavit, because I won that case in 2013. The government, okay, how many things could have gone wrong with that trial, that tribunal? Well, they could have steamrolled me.
Yeah.
Basically, I've been in many courtrooms, doing the research, doing the work, and I've seen people get steamrolled in the courts many times. So I could have got steamrolled.
Mm-hmm.
Piss off, monkey boy, yagga dagga do, load of bullshit, and you get steamrolled, pay the fine. Yeah. Well, that didn't happen. And then what else could have not happened? Well, there was no reason, even if I did win the case where Mr. David Ward has got no liability to pay the PCN, that's the case ended, concluded, finished, full. You don't have to pay the PCN.
Yep.
But the next day, I got that letter from the council, from the borough, from the government, and that's a signed declaration of no contest. No one has seen that piece of paper before. No one has had that piece of paper before. That is the only one that I know of today on this planet. Okay? And that is a signed and legal document, which is a legal declaration of no. They didn't need to do that, but they did. Yep. So you've got the Jack Beatson, you've got the Shadrach Katutus, and then they've given us the legal means to commercially back charge them for a criminal offence. Yep. Because that document, no one in any country has signed that legal agreement agreeing to be governed. It puts every government on the planet in the bin as criminal fraud. Yep. Regardless of the fact whether you've elected someone or not, it's now irrelevant, because I won that case with an elected government. Yeah? So the fact that there's an election is now irrelevant. There's a legal requirement for the 67.5 million people in the UK to sign that legal document agreeing to be governed, called the consent of the governed. And it's the same in every country. So that one case defeats every government on the planet. So that case went in the affidavit. The Jack Beatson speech went in the affidavit. The Shadrach Katutus went in the affidavit. Because what is an affidavit? An affidavit is a sworn statement under penalty of perjury and full commercial liability. It says, these are the facts, monkey boy. You've got 28 days to prove me wrong. And the fact that it is an affidavit, they cannot not respond. To not respond is a equally illegal action, because it's an affidavit. The legal implementations of an affidavit is that they have got to respond. Or if they haven't responded, then they have legally and formally agreed to the contents of that affidavit. 100%. Now, it's understanding what an affidavit is. You need to know what an affidavit is before you can actually write an affidavit. Because you've got to know what you're doing. You can't build a power station if you don't know how a power station works. It will go boom. Yeah. So you've got to know your stuff from the outset. So I sent that off, an affidavit, to all 657 MPs in the UK, which does, and it's actually the head office of the administration office of 174 countries. All the other countries are like sub offices. There's actually a document which is published by the UK government, and it's a list of countries which are assets of the UK government. So America is an asset of the UK government. Russia, China, Arabia, Africa, all of Europe, Germany, France, Belgium, all of these countries are assets, company assets belonging to the UK government. So that's the head office. So I'm doing this in the head office. I know I'm doing this in the head office because I go looking for stuff and finding, even if I don't know what I'm looking for, I will eventually find something. And there is a published document by the UK government, Asset Publishing Services, UK.gov, whatever it is. And there it is. There's 174 countries which are assets of the UK government. So I know I am doing this in the head office because 2015 is 2 years later than 2013. You know, I'm doing serious research and serious work. So I know what I'm doing, you know, and I know that if they cannot prove me wrong, then they have legally agreed to the contents of that affidavit. That's a formal and legal and binding agreement. It's not a tacit agreement through acquiescence is an old language which is um, pre 2015, believe it or not. It's old English, a tacit agreement through acquiescence. You cannot have a legal agreement through acquiescence. It's got to be a formal and binding legal agreement. And that's the difference as to what an affidavit is. It creates that formal and binding legal agreement when they do not respond. Because there's
the danger, I mean, just for people to understand, I mean, perjury, what is it? Is perjury? I mean, perjury is up to 10 years, isn't it? Something like that.
Perjury is 10 years. If you committed fraud, that's 7 to 10 years. So if you do that with 657 MPs, you've got access to the best lawyers, barristers, and judges on the planet. Right. You've committed perjury or fraud 657 times at 10 years each, which is going to bang you up in jail for 6,570 years.
So
accumulatively.
If there was any errors inside that affidavit, that
it's going to come back and bite you on the ass.
It would have been goodbye to you, monkey boy.
Yeah. Put me in jail, lock me up. Okay, brick up the door. You know, it's serious stuff. You know,
the nuts of that affidavit. Basically, the nuts in that affidavit proved, number one, that I mean, let me just try and reiterate and say the number one was the fact that obviously, without the wet ink signature of the UK at the time, I think it was 63.5 million. Without the 63.5 wet ink signatures, therefore there is no consent. Therefore, if there is no consent, they cannot be classed as governed. And if they're not classed as governed, therefore there could be no government, because without one, there can't be the other. One doesn't exist without the other. Therefore, there is no government, and therefore, as what was stated by the Shadrach Kahukas, that it was a corporation, and not only that the UK was a corporation. I mean, other governments, all governments are corporations, and those acts and statutes only apply to, as you should know, that the members of the corporation, and the members of the corporation have to have a signed contract with them, and the people are not those. So the only ones, I mean, this is what I was trying to say, the only actual ones that those acts and statutes do apply to are the people that have got a contract with that corporation, which is all members of the police, the councils. They do apply to all those, but they don't actually apply to the men and women because they've never signed any contract with them. Would that be correct?
That's right. And as being as the people that do, because they are compartmentalized, they've not had full disclosure in their contract of employment to these facts. Therefore, their contract of employment is null and void anyway.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, and that's how we do it. I mean, it's the boxes within inside boxes. You know, it's the periodical scenario. You know, those at the top know, the ones below don't know what's at the top, but the ones that below know the ones below them don't know, and it goes down and down and decompartmentalized. So that end of the day, like I say, the police that are going around enforcing these acts and statutes on them, they haven't a clue. They don't have it. They don't have it, and that's why they need to be made aware, because ultimately, you know, it's like the Nuremberg Treaty for the Nazis that were just following orders. Ultimately, they are doing wrong, even though they believe that they're right. Possibly, I mean, maybe more so because they do apply to them, but they don't apply to us because we didn't sign no contract. So yeah, they do apply. So I mean, in a sense, they are right in saying that, you know, they do apply, but even to them, you know, it doesn't really apply because full disclosure was never given, and they was kept in the dark because of being decompartmentalized too. So yeah, so the police out there, you know, that do listen, because I mean the police do listen to my videos. So I've been trying to tell them for a long time. Look, guys, you've been screwed just like we've all been screwed. Let's have it. It's enough now. Enough. Stand with the
Yeah, the
people.
police are getting screwed as well. We pay
Absolutely.
tax for the police. We pay tax for the fireman and the teacher and the school teacher, the nurse and the doctors. Right. So why do all them people pay tax?
Exactly.
Because when they pay
That's
tax, their tax goes down the black hole
exactly,
of
yeah.
tax.
And that was
Never
the
see.
basis of that point, very poignant point that you made out. When
Yeah.
there's no way back for the tax for the people, that the taxpayers, the people. You know, if the system was perfectly correct and required to do so, the people that do pay the tax to pay the wages of the people that provide the services, i.e., police, firemen, and so on and so forth. Why the hell are they paying tax? There should be no tax being paid to them, because the money that they get, they should be spending to put back into the system. But the tax that comes from them, where's that gone? Where does that
Gone.
go? And
It's
this
just
whole
gone.
point about the whole thing about it, because remember, it's not the money that controls the people, it's the debt. And they need to drain the system of the money so that the people start becoming struggling and struggling. And that's why we're struggling now, because they've drained the whole system from people getting access. That should have just been freely floating in a nice circle. But because the people that are paying the tax and the people that are being paid by that tax are being taxed, that tax can't go back into the system because it's being stolen and flushed down the pan, like you say.
Yeah. And it's all controlled. You know, this is done deliberately.
Yeah,
It's not like the
yeah,
the economists in government don't know what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing. They're doing it on purpose.
yeah,
Yeah, it's a control, and they've done this to actually drain the world economics of cash.
yeah,
It's you know, it's suicidal, because eventually you've got the straw that breaks the camel's back. People are going to rebel. Well, we're going to hang you now, motherfucker. Yeah,
yeah,
because the everyone is going to get to that snapping point, and that will, and they know it's going to happen. And this is why the cabal, the government, is shutting up shop, run away.
yeah,
They're getting out of Dodge. Yeah, they're going. And so they're giving us what we need. They have given us the Shadrach Cathutus. They have given us the Jack Beatson. They have given us the case law. They have given us the affidavit. They have given us the means to commercially back charge, or to commercially charge the government themselves for criminal fraud. Well, you're never going to get them to pay, because you've not got it anymore. It's gone down the black hole.
mhm,
So you need a means to turn that charge into what's called a commercial instruments. And that is exactly what I did, which no one has ever done before, by using a commercial lien for the debt. First of all, you create the debt. Well, I'm going to create a debt because you made a claim you can't substantiate, and that's criminal fraud. And now I'm going to charge you because you've made a claim. When you makes a claim, carries the obligation, that's a contract, to present the material substance of the claim. Now, if you can't show me the material substance of your claim, I'm going to commercially charge you for criminal fraud. How much do I'm going to charge you? Well, it's all fictitious, fake money, confidence and belief anyway. 5 million. You know, I deliberately made it a big number, not a few grand. I'm going to charge you, commercially charge you 5 million for every criminal offence. Well, if you committed fraud and you've agreed to the fraud, because you can't not agree to the fraud, because you've made the claim and you can't present the substance of the claim, then you've agreed to the fraud. So, and if you committed fraud in your government's office, that's also malfeasance.
yeah,
And now you've got two criminal offences, and they're both willful and belligerent. So you committed fraud and then you committed malfeasance, and combined, that's a demonstrated intention to cause distress and alarm, which is a willful and belligerent act of terrorism. So now you've got three criminal offences that I'm going to charge you for, which you've already agreed.
yeah.
Yeah. So it's not 5 million, it's 15 million every time you commit fraud.
Absolutely.
Now we've got a commercial means there to charge them
Yeah,
by way of a lien. So but because they're never going to make settlement, you haven't got it anymore. It's gone down the black hole. Yeah,
mhm,
you need to then convert that securitized commercial lien into what's called a commercial instrument. Now, there's a number of different commercial instruments. One's called a bond. One's called a pledge,
mhm,
and and everyone who signs the documentation to make an application for a bank loan, because the banks don't pay, they don't lend you anything. That document that you sign, that is a commercial instrument. That money, that document, the words and numbers on that paper that you signed with your signature goes into an account. The bank don't lend anything.
Yeah. You just created
That is a securitized commercial instrument. So
secure
bonds, pledges, and commercial, they're all commercial instruments.
Yeah.
Right. So once you've turned and as part of that 6-week lien process, in the fourth document, knowing full well that they're never going to transfer the funds and make settlement and haven't got the cash to do so, I gave them a choice. You can make settlements in 7 days, or if you elect not to, then you've agreed to stand as a surety for a security. That securitizes the commercial instrument. That makes every lien that I have done, all 38 of them, and now there's not just me, there's like a few other people. You're talking over 350 or more that are all securitized commercial instruments. They are legal tender. And you're talking over 8 billion at current. I've completely lost track of how much we have got on deposit. Yeah. It's just taken off in the last few months. So I've got 1.95 billion in securitized commercial instruments, which is 1.95 billion in which is legal tender, fiat currency. Yeah, it's all hypothetical bullshit, but this is what you're taxing us on and with anyway.
Yeah.
So that foundation, which I started and created by winning the case in 2013, and then backing it up by the affidavit, which makes it 657 times more powerful. And because it applies to every country on the planet, it is 7.5 billion times more powerful than the Magna Carta. People don't realize that. If you don't do the math, you don't do the math. You've got to do the math. Okay. If this applies to 7.5 billion people on the planet who have not agreed to be governed and sign that legal agreement, then that affidavit of facts that's agreed to by the UK government, which is the head office of the planet, the cabal, then that is 7.5 billion times more powerful than the Magna Carta. It's a fact. Okay. So we have an established global implementable means to commercially charge the governments of the whole planet for criminal fraud. It's established, it's there, it's done. There has been no opposition from the government. In fact, everything that I've done from winning the case, they signed it. I sent the affidavit. They didn't disagree with me. They didn't prove me wrong. Therefore, they've agreed with it. Everything that I have done is World Cabal, New World Order, government sanctioned and approved. Mm-hmm. Right. So where can you go wrong with that? You can't go wrong with that. No one is going to fight it.
So this is then when we, because myself and yourself, we then went to try to create that conversion. Now we tried to make those totally lawful and legal documents, which should be accepted by those banks, to convert it into those pieces of paper that people believe as money. And that was, and there's basically the fact that they're not doing that. They're the ones that are in fault. They're in error. So
yeah, and you've got to qualify at that point the reason why the banks cannot take these commercial instruments, and it's the fact that the banks have a license from the UK Government Financial Conduct Authority Office, and if they breach their license, they are no longer a bank. So if they did process these securitized commercial instruments into a bank account, they would lose their license. Yep. They're no longer a bank, and that's why they can't. But the bank at that point it's just a vehicle to transfer a document like a bond or a pledge or a securitized lien into the fiat currency. It just takes it from there and puts it in here, and then once it's in that account, it is therefore spendable legal tender. Yeah. So we can't use the banks to do that. and you wouldn't want to put 15 or 30 million or more in your high street bank. You know, people that have got that kind of cash, they don't put it in the high street bank. It goes into the Cayman Islands bulk account somewhere, which is outside of the reach of the UK government. Yeah, that's why there's the Cayman Islands bulk accounts for people to put their billions in, because it's outside of the reach for tax purposes of the UK government or any government. And that situation was established by the cabal anyway, so that they could put their billions in these offshore bulk accounts. Well, what is an offshore bulk account? What is a bank account? What is that? Well, it's a record of a deposit. And okay, back in the day, it was on paper. Write it down in a book. Yeah. Well, in these days, it's all on the computer. Well, what does that mean? Well, that means your record could be on a USB pen. Your bank account could be on a USB pen or a micro SD card. You know, it doesn't need to be in a high street bank. They're still useful, you know, as that vehicle. So I went down the wrong road, hold my hand up. Yeah, I make the mistake every now and then. I looked at this cryptocurrency. I actually had the idea of using the cryptocurrency as a vehicle about 3 years back, but I was busy at the time and I didn't get a chance to do anything with it until 2 years ago. And I spent 18 months, and Andy was involved with that. We actually got in touch with the blockchain people, coders that make the crypto coins, and we need you to do this, but you need to add this function to the coin. And we were talking to 2 or 3 people or 4 people, weren't we, Andy?
Yeah.
Over a Zoom meeting like this. And then we discovered that won't work because there's no direct path back from your cryptocurrency back into fiat. And that the whole idea at that point of using the cryptocurrency as a vehicle instead of a bank fell to pieces. And which put me 2 years behind from doing deep research, because I had to get to a point where you got the techie guy talking techie talk to another techie guy who is the program writer for the blockchain. And that took 18 months to get to talk to that guy. And we jumped through stupid hoops to actually get to talk to that guy. Yeah. So 18 months of research got flushed down the pan at that point. But I realized at that point that the wallets, the e-wallet, is still the vehicle. You know, you put your securitized commercial instruments inside the e-wallet, which is your bonds or your pledges or your securitized commercial liens. That goes into the wallet. And what comes out of the wallet is going to be GBP, exactly the same as putting it in a bank. You put it in a wallet. It's just a conversion tool. Yeah. So we need a wallet. And there is these e-wallets that are completely not related to cryptocurrencies. You know, Barclays have got one. It's called Ping. And I actually saw a guy using it about 2 years ago in Aldi's. And he was obviously worked for Aldi's and he got his groceries from Aldi's. And the girls were giving him some grief at the checkout because he picked up his iPhone and he stuck it down at the point of sale and he's pressing the screen. And the girls are going, "Oh, look at him paying for his groceries with his iPhone," you know, big giggles everywhere and laughter. And I thought, that's a wallet. You know, this is a couple of years after. That's an e-wallet. He was using an e-wallet in the current day commercial industry. Yeah. Using the point of sale and his e-wallet, the phone's talking to the point of sale and transferring the money from his bank to pay for his groceries. Well, that's what we need. We need an e-wallet.
He was his own banker, basically. For the people to understand that, basically, in other words, rather than having a bank in a high street, he'd got his own bank on his phone.
On his phone,
transferred his money that was in his bank across to pay for the shopping.
Yeah. So these things already do exist. Yeah. but now we need to make one. But that e-wallet that he was using, it's in two parts. You've got the program that's on the phone, yeah, and there's the back end to that, which is Barclays themselves.
Yeah.
That ping works with Barclays. It's their ping, it's their wallet. It's a Barclays wallet, basically, that you can use on your phone. So we need a wallet that is completely independent and self-contained without the back end infrastructure of a bank. Now, that wallet, that particular kind of wallet, current day doesn't exist. We need to make one. And I'm not a programmer.
That's where those. So I mean those particular points on that wallet. That I mean, because the wallets are there, aren't they? Those wallets are there actually out there now.
Yeah, and they've got nothing to do with crypto or blockchain. And there's actually a company. I actually found them the other day. I went looking online for a company that makes e-wallets. There's an international company out there that's got offices in like 10 countries, and they specialize just in making e-wallets. And I thought, well, should I contact them? But there's a lot of background here that I would need to bring these people up to speed on, because they're not going to understand the affidavit and the case law and the security side. They just make e-wallets. They don't know any of this stuff. I've actually been down that process of trying to bring someone up to speed many, many, many times with people, and it's a world of pain. It's a serious world of pain when you're talking to some other techie guy who's not got a clue what you're talking about. Even though he's a techie guy, he's a techie guy. Yeah, but he's not got a clue what I'm talking about. And as soon as they see it's government related, people get scared and they run for the hills. And in the past 3 or 4 months, I've been talking to a lot of people. We need to find someone that, I know someone who can do that. Well, let's talk to him, and you talk to him, and then he runs for the hills. And there was a guy in New Zealand that I was talking to about 3 months ago. And I had a Zoom meeting with him, like this Zoom meeting, and and he's in New Zealand, across the other side of the planet, and we were talking about law. Basically, I'm doing everything outside the courtroom because I'm never going in that courtroom. But he's the kind of guy that will walk into a courtroom, rip the judge a new spleen, and walk out again, because he can. He's got the knowledge. He's got the know-how. Yeah. So he's talking about this stuff from his point of view and what he does. And I'm talking about what I do. And he's understanding what I'm saying, and I'm understanding what he's saying. And it was like an instant rapport with this guy. And it turns out this guy's got a personal secretary, a personal assistant. He's a millionaire. He's got a programmer on tap. He's called Neil. Yeah, I got that, Dave. You understand exactly what you're doing. Leave it with me. I thought, great. This guy's got some serious pull. He's a millionaire anyway. He knows people all across the planet, because he did. He was actually dragged me into a conversation with another guy who knows all about bonds in America. So now we've got a 3-way Zoom meeting. Well, it wasn't a Zoom. It was actually on the phone. A conference call on the phone between me and Tane, another guy in America who knows all about bonds. This guy, Tane, has got some serious pull. I thought, great. Get on with it, because he was saying to me that he was going to do a world deployment. He's setting up the offices in all the countries to do this world deployment of this e-wallet. Yeah. And therefore you're going to need, well, you're talking 200 countries, you're talking 200 languages, you're talking 200 websites. And I thought, okay, you get on with that. I'll sit back and let you get on with it. You carry on with that, son. Mm-hmm. And 3 months later, what he showed me was a complete bag of nails. And it was all to do with crypto. Okay. Yeah. So his website was a crypto website for trading crypto coins, and his wallet was basically a Bitcoin wallet. I thought, same. That is not the project we were talking about. What you're doing. Yeah. So he completely dropped the ball. And how many times can you go through that process where someone completely drops the ball or runs away and gets scared? Because I'm running out of patience here. I'm losing the will to fucking live. Mm-hmm. you know, I've had that conversation now too many times with too many people. We're not getting anywhere. We're not making any advancement, which means, and I am perfectly capable, but at 59 years old, I don't want to pick up the books and learn the PHP and the coding and the programming myself. Yeah, I could do that. But how long is that going to take? Is it going to take 3 months, 6 months, a year? I don't know. You know, at 59 years old, A, I don't want to do it. B, it's going to drive me nuts focusing on that stuff that I don't want to focus on just to get this done when I know there's 1,000 or more people out there can get it done in a week or a day. If you're good enough, you could do this in a day.
Yeah.
I built a website in a day.
So I mean, the wallets are already there, and I take it those wallets there are just linked to your own bank accounts, and that's how you fill them up. Yeah, but the only difference is with these wallets, they just need basically the same as what we was doing with the crypto coin with a crypto wallet. We just needed the application on there to convert the liens into that coin. So because we could do it with the crypto, there was no problems there. They said, yeah, everything we could have had all that system. The only difference was we had no trackaway back to the banks to convert it into the fiat.
You can't convert your crypto back into fiat. Yeah, not directly.
So we've got the banks there. We've got the accounts there. Those e-wallets are already there. We just need a programmer then that will program that.
A self-contained e-wallet.
Yeah, a self-contained e-wallet with a inbuilt platform of converting the liens into the wallet then, basically.
Yeah. It's actually, I was talking to a guy the other day. He's actually not very well. It's a friend of mine who came up from London a year ago, Mike, and he spent 2 days with me. We were going through all sorts of this stuff. And Mike now is very proactive. He actually does it all on paper. He doesn't do it all by email. He does it all on paper. And he has exceeded me like flipping 4 or 5 times over. The guy is a machine. Yeah. And he found himself, he got up, this guy's in his 70s. You know, he's not a young guy, but he's up to speed. And he woke up a week ago, maybe 2 weeks, I don't know when he said it was, and he was all dizzy, so he went to the hospital. And while he was in the hospital, he was talking to this other guy, Miss Marcel, but he calls himself Mark, and he started talking to this Mark, you know, purely for the fact that Mark's phone had gone, battery gone flat, and Mike had got a phone charger. He used my phone charger to charge your phone up. So he gets talking to this guy, Marcel. And apparently the conversation between Mike, because Mike's up to speed on what the e-wallet is and what we need to get done. Yeah. And this Marcus turned around and said, oh, well, that's easy. That's actually an easy project to get done. Well, I know it's an easy project to get done. It's a piece of piss if you've got the programming skills. Not that this Marcus has got, you know, compared to the Lien coin and all that blockchain coding and the website platform, that's extremely complicated. An e-wallet is a piece of piss.
Yeah.
To the right guy, it's like a day's work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be beautiful. That will. I mean, and the thing is with this, I mean, again, you know, the governments and everyone else, all these, so I mean, they're in problems with the debts and everything. This wipes out all their problems.
Yeah, because if we can back charge them for the criminal fraud in any tax document is evidence of criminal fraud. Yeah. Therefore, guess what, government, you can have as much tax as you want. We don't care anymore. Your tax control key is gone, but we can pay you the tax. Happy days. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So you know, every time we buy something like a new cardy or a laptop or a mobile phone or a pen or a pair of socks, and you pay the tax, the VAT. Mm-hmm. They've taxed us. Well, everything's 85% tax. Okay, we'll pay the 85% tax. Not a problem, because now we're going to back charge you 15 million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, it would, yeah, it eliminates the whole thing, and it puts everybody, and it puts the power back in everybody's hands as well, and it
Yeah.
removes the, because you're all, I mean, we are all our own nation. This is my castle. This is my dwelling where we live in. I'm a banker. We're all bankers.
We're all
We-
bankers now.
yeah,
We can all be bankers.
yeah,
Yeah. But we're not going to call it a bank because a bank needs a license to commit fraud. We're not committing fraud.
no,
Yeah. So we're going to call it, instead of a bank account on your mobile phone, we're going to call it an e-wallet on your mobile phone because that's what it is.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Not a bank. I just have a, yeah. I'm carrying my own possessions.
Yeah. My electronic currency and my electronic device. Yeah. So it's like a real bank, so like a real wallet or a real purse with got real currency in. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, that's yours. You can do with it what you want. Yeah.
Yeah,
But it's electronic one on your phone or on your laptop or on your USB pen or on your micro SD card.
yeah, yeah.
So it's just an electronic wallet.
Absolutely beautiful. Yeah, I mean I mean, and again, and it was so simple. I mean, just to recap, like when you was, for the audience, this is when you were saying about, you went down the path of the crypto coin. I mean, it wasn't just that. You have to go onto the grounds of what you was doing there. I mean, just to show you. I mean, basically, what you were just stating there about the VAT. Every time they charge VAT, which is a crime, and therefore that was going to be a £15 million lien, was the fact of going around to take the homeless off the streets, which is one of my things I've been trying for a long, long time, and how you
But
could have
yeah,
just
I
gone
mean,
down.
every time you go out, we can organise. I mean, this is a project that I've already drafted out in a not to a great detail of the actual nuts and bolts. Well, it is a nuts and bolts version, not the crafted business plan. Yeah, there's a difference between your nuts and bolts version and a crafted business plan,
Yeah.
where we create a new document where we don't do a securitized commercial lien because we've got the foundation built, which is 8 billion plus in 350 commercial back charges against the government for criminal fraud. That foundation is built now. It's built and it's getting old. It's getting old, waiting for the next stage. Well, the next stage is the wallet. Once we've got the wallet, we can change that process. We can go direct to a criminal back charge for criminal fraud. So it's not a lien anymore. It's a securitized charge against HM Revenue and Customs for criminal fraud through taxation.
Mhm.
So that's a one-off document. And all you need to add to that document is the evidence of the tax.
Yeah, and you've also got all the council tax. You've got all.
Yeah.
You've also, even when I was talking with Anthony yesterday, remember this. I mean, because there's the whole point about all the cases, all these people that have been done in their courts. The chances are that was a counterfeit court. It wasn't a genuine court case, and you've been fleeced through a
Yeah.
counterfeit court. So you've got those claims, and the main thing is, I mean, like you say, because they just ignore. But don't we're not worried about them ignoring it now, because that is
No.
their acquiescence and agreement to pay and to stand as surety, so we can make the charge against them. And when we
Yeah.
have our own wallets, happy days. It's happy days. So basically, you eliminate. They can't do any wrong. No one can do any wrong, because if you do wrong, you stand as surety. You've just made me a lot of money. So
Yeah.
the people that are doing wrong better stop doing wrong. So what a perfect way of I mean, and if you think about it, I mean, that was what we wasn't taught in the schools that we should have been taught in the schools. The first thing that everybody should understand is how to stand up for themselves, and how to react if somebody does you a wrong. If somebody does you a wrong, first of all, you ask them kindly, yeah, and after they don't ask you, you then present them with a demand, or a notice for payment. And if they have to go through your little process, if they fail to respond and totally ignore you, then again, like you say, on your final payment, you give them 7 days, or they stand as surety for that payment, which then securitizes that commercial instrument that they've just created, which was that lien, that process of a lien that everybody should have been taught in a school.
Yeah.
That's the first thing that we should have all been taught, rather than, no, do You go to these people, and these people will get them done for you. You stand as yourself. We don't need any police. We are the police. We are the government. We are everything that you need to be, every single one of us, everything that you're looking for help for, you're that man. Go look in the mirror. You're everything that you need. You don't need any of these other ones. And the fact that you do need them, they're only gatekeepers to stopping you from getting what you really deserve, and you would get if you went it by yourself, because you're your own gatekeeper in the sense of that. But the gatekeeping that we've been on ourselves is because of the programming that we've all received. So we have to get that programming out so that we become
being kept
the
in
man
ignorance. I
or
was
woman that we
47.
should.
I was 47 years old and completely blind, deaf, dumb, and stupid to all of it. You know, you got
I
to
was
get to that
47
point in
as
your life
well.
where everything turns to shit.
It was the same age. I was the same age.
You
Mine
was the
came
same
at
age.
47. Yeah, I was. Well, yeah, I was. I was. Yeah, I mean, at 47, and mine wasn't through. I didn't wake. I didn't come. I had nothing against me. You know, it wasn't as though I got anything against me. I stepped out when I'd sold the bike. I had the time then to sit down, and I wanted to research cancer, and that just learning the pharmaceutical industry opened the whole can of worms up.
Yeah.
And then it was like I came to that point where that was when I took the one step inwards and said to myself, when I'm speaking to myself now, I says, what do you actually know? I want you to be fucking to myself. What the fuck do you know? And be 100% honest with yourself. And I had to answer the fact that I knew fuck all. I absolutely knew nothing. Everything I've been told is a lie. And that was it. So I had to start afresh. And then when you look upon things differently, like you say, you die and you're reborn. And then I'm looking on the world and I'm seeing, I know now how evil this, but the point is, it's us. And I was a part of that fucking, because I was it, And
you know, when I realized I was that taxpayer, when I realized that I was part of that problem.
Yeah.
It's me. It come back to me. It come back to my door. I am part of this problem. Yeah. Therefore, I've got to resolve this problem.
Yeah. Same here. Yeah. So I mean, again, there's loads of people. I mean, and I'm sure ultimately when we wrap all this together and unite everybody together with these common points. I mean, going in with the common law side of it, the people on the common law side of it, when you come down to understanding it, ultimately the common law side of it, in theory and whatever they're talking about it, it's all beautiful, it's all well and good. But when we were talking to Anthony yesterday, even then, right, he said they gave him a jury of 12 of his peers. And he said, and when it came to the judge, every single one of the juries went against him. And he says, are you telling me them 12 people in there were not, because again, the whole court is a fraudulent case. So they brought in their own jury. Where did these 12 peers and all this lot? So regardless, if you're going to have it, I mean, and what does peer mean? It means somebody of the same level. So, would I want to be stood in front of a court with 12 jury that wear masks, that think chemtrails are contrails, would I want these people that are using fluoride, thinking fluoride's good for your teeth, and that believe that you should pay tax because, and it's right and lawful, and they don't understand any of this? Would I want these 12 people to be bearing witness and standing as a judgment over me? How can you class them as a peer? So, ultimately, even on those, even when it comes down to that, ultimately, realistically, like you say, the only real law is what you've contracted for, and the only finite meaning of the truth of law that none of us can dispute is the divine law, meaning like cause no harm, man. It's blatantly obvious. I shouldn't do that. I wouldn't want anyone to do it to you, and I wouldn't want anyone doing it to me. So, that's the simples. I mean,
well, if you do cause harm, then straight away you get in the contract, and a victim of that harm has a right to redress.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's another one of the maxims. What the maxim I use all the time is he who makes a claim carries the obligation to present the material substance of that claim. And that's a maximum of facts. That is a fact.
Yeah.
And if someone does someone harm, then there's a victim who's being harmed. The victim has the right to redress. Nobody else. The victim does.
Yeah.
So the victim has the right to choose what that redress is.
Yeah.
And the one doing the harm has already entered into the contract and given them the legal rights.
Yeah. Yeah.
To implement that redress.
Yeah.
Whatever that redress is, because nobody else can choose what the redress is, only the victim.
Yeah. This is where compassion comes into it, because at the end of
Yeah.
the day, these people that have, I hear all sorts. People wanted them hung, and and all this, like, yeah. But ultimately, like, if we're gonna hit that happy medium and just unite all the people, good and bad, the ones that have been doing bad, I tell you what, yeah, as Jesus said, Jesus said, yeah, he who's done no wrong cast the first stone. Well, I tell you what, there ain't going to be many chucking stones, I can assure you. And
Nope.
and again, like, even though, I mean, for the obvious, I mean, I had many debates with when I was exposing the sickness of this child abuse and stuff. Ultimately, like, when I used to say to him what they need, because I mean, obviously, when you hit that stage, like, I mean, you probably felt it yourself. When you realise you're the problem, you've been the problem, and the things that you've done, when you've realised because you bought into the lies and you allowed yourself to be duped. When there's no more pain than mental pain, and no one you can't hurt anybody. The best way of hurting somebody is making them realise what they're doing wrong. When they realise that they're doing wrong, and people say, no, they don't care, they won't feel. It doesn't matter what you say. You can no one can escape your consciences. That's why the story about God sees everything. Well, actually, and God will be my judge. You're forgetting. Your conscience has seen everything, and when you
are
become
your own
conscious,
judge.
you are going to realize, that, oh my God, and like I say, and that's when the pain comes in. There's no more worse pain. So when these people, these ones that have been doing disgusting things to children and something, when they become aware and awake, you won't be needing to kill them or hang them. Or more than likely, they'll be doing it themselves.
More than
And
likely.
if they can survive and come back, because I mean, the other thing is you've never lived in their shoes. That's the other side to it. You've not been brought. You've not lived in their shoes. You don't know what's gone through, what's happened to them, to make them become what they are now. Okay, they're doing what they're doing, but their inner child has been their conscience, should I say, or their soul, or whatever you want to call it, has been locked away, and they're completely oblivious. Their minds are totally programmed, just like the masses are right now, who think they're being good people, who go to a church every Sunday or whatever, and think they're
I think they're good people by paying the tax. Yeah.
Even though they're paying tax, and they're also responsible for all the war crimes, because they were the ones that funded it.
That's correct.
Yeah, exactly, mate. Yeah. So it's a strange old game. So I mean, on the basis, on the crust of what this conversation was about, was just obviously it was a run up to explain what David's done and his process of what he's gone through and where we are at. Well, where he's at now, or where we are at now, because this goes across the world, not to England, not to Greece. This goes across the world. The whole world's got an opportunity here now. If we could have some programmers that would stand up and create this wallet, we have the opportunity here now to end the world's debt in one day.
So let's slightly quantify what this wallet is. Okay, if you log into your bank account like you do online, what you're actually looking at is a website, and that website, the bank, everything. Okay, the infrastructure of banking is this basically. In the UK, there is a nexus point called BACS, BACS, and in Germany it's called SWIFT, and in different countries it's called different things. Now, when you go and log into your bank account and make a payment or a transfer or whatever you're doing, that transaction goes directly to the BACS nexus point. Yeah. So your bank is connected to that BACS nexus point. Everyone's bank is connected to that bank's nexus point because it's got to go somewhere. Now that could be, I could be buying something on eBay from China, right? So it's going to go to the bank's nexus point in the UK, which is BACS, and then it's going to go across to China to that nexus point, and then it's going to find their bank, yeah, from that nexus point. It's like sending an email.
Yeah.
If I'm on Gmail and you're on Hotmail, yeah, I send my email to the Gmail nexus point, and then it bounces across to Hotmail, and then you get your email. So every point of sale, when you put your debit card into that box is connected to the nexus point, the bank's nexus point. Okay, but what you're looking at when you log into your bank is a web page, and a web page is HTML and PHP and whatever else you might need. You might need some JavaScript, or you might need some Perl, or I don't know. I am not that guru on building websites. I only know the HTML part. I don't know the rest. So we're looking for someone who is a guru at building websites, the fully interactive, in economics type of website. Yeah. But it's a website. It's basically HTML and PHP and possibly some JavaScript or Perl or something else. But it's a website. Okay. So your wallet is a website. Now, a website doesn't actually be up there on the internet. I built websites. I don't build it on the internet. When I build a website, or when I did build a website, I do it on this laptop or on my computer. And that website is fully built, fully functional, fully interactive because the computer's on the internet, and therefore and then I upload it to the internet. So it doesn't need to be out there on a web server. Your website can be on a USB stick, and it's still a website. Yeah. It doesn't matter what medium it is, as long as it's a computerized digital medium. So a USB stick or an SD card, or is where your website, which is where your wallet lives. That's the house where the wallet lives. So we're not looking for the super guru that programs a program in C or C sharp or C++. That's not the kind of guru programmer we're looking for. We're looking at the web architects, the people that build websites, that know what they're doing with websites. Yeah. And that's what we're looking for. So the person let's consider this to be a manhunt. We need to find someone. And this is what the shout out is about. We need to find someone who's a guru on websites that can build this e-wallet. Because it's not going to be a website, it's going to be an e-wallet, but it's going to work like a website. A guru on websites who is someone I don't have to spend 6 weeks bringing them up to speed on the legislative rule and the case law and the affidavit. We need someone who's switched on, in other words, who's awake and aware that the government are all criminals. And because I've already spoken to a number of people, and they see all of a sudden, oh my God, that's the government, and they run for the hills. We need someone who's a web guru, who's switched on, and he's got a pair of balls, basically. He's got a spine, so he doesn't run away.
Wants to see it through, because it's a mission. Yeah. This is a mission for the people, by the people.
It's a mission for the people, by the people.
Yeah, this is for the people, for the world. Yeah.
Yeah.
This ends
once that wallet is built, tested and working, they don't. If they want to stay anonymous, they can do. Give it to me. I'll run with the ball.
Yeah.
You don't need to worry about that. If you want to stay anonymous, stay anonymous. That's not a problem. Because then we can go ahead with the HTH program and the Help the Homeless program and everything else.
Absolutely, yeah. And those wallets. I mean, I take it once you build one, they're all the same.
Pretty much, yeah. The one that we're building is different because it's going to be self-contained, where all the other ones that currently exist have got a back end which is directly related to the bank or directly related to something else, a debit card.
So the one that's being built, then, the one that's being built will be the main hub where the exchange or the conversions of the liens then, and then you could just
Yeah.
point them out to the, yeah, okay, yeah, I get exactly where you come from, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a function that doesn't exist in every other wallet where we can bring in a commercial instrument instead of you've got to have a means to bring fiat currency into your wallet. Yeah, otherwise it wouldn't be a wallet.
Yeah.
Now that can only come from the GBP or whatever currency is in that country. Yeah, but we need the function to add into our wallet a different kind of commercial instrument, which is a securitized commercial instrument itself.
Yeah.
Once that goes into the wallet, we need to be able to bring that into the wallet, yeah, and then it's instantly converted to your GBP or your Deutschmark or your Lira or your dollar, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not going to be one wallet. We're gonna get one wallet built, and then we're gonna have to convert it into all the other currencies as well, and all the other languages. But we need to get the one wallet sorted out first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so that's it. So anybody knows any web gurus or people that are really up to it, or you think you know somebody that matches the criteria? In other words, can't be basically with the government. You know, it's got to be a man that's standing as a man that's for the people, and have the know-how and the technical know-how to join in and help. So yeah, anybody who's got any clues on anybody that fits those criteria that David's just said, then please contact. You can contact Dave. Do you want to give your email? Want to give your email out for him to contact?
Yeah, David Ward, esq@gmail.com.
Okay, and I'll
or you can contact me through the Facebook group, Security by Way of a Lien, or on my Facebook name, which is Baron David Ward. Yeah. There's lots of ways people can find me.
Yeah, and I'll put all the links to what you just stated there, and I'll put some extra links and other things that I've done. It was that website, that quick one I whipped up for you, which goes through the basically showing you what we was trying when we was going through the crypto coin, and basically it's similar, it's got very, very similarities to it. It's exactly the same thing, and it's not crypto now. It was never about crypto in the first place. It was always about, because it was about saving. It was about saving because I mean the financial situation of the country. It would eliminate all the government's problems, because we're not trying to be an issue. We're not coming in here as a. That's what I mean. We're not being. We're not coming here in warring. We're not challenging. We're actually trying to bring in solutions, and like you said, I mean, with Jack Beeston and Shadran Kahufas, with these people coming out with that, that there are, and I've always said it actually, there's got to be somebody in that government that's wanting to be correct, otherwise it would have lost already. So, I mean, although we're seeing the disgusting stuff that's going down, ultimately, it's up to us, the people, to stand up and hold them to account and aid them and assist them and this is one most certain way of would be aiding to assist them, because, like I say, we're actually abundant. We're living in abundance, but just we're lacking the ability but the cabal's going there. Their ability to drain us and to create poverty can be ended overnight if we could just find someone to create this wallet, and we can. And again, crime doesn't pay, but it's damn time that the men stood up and made crime pay. And these people that have been doing this crime, we can convert them. We can convert them into liens. We can convert them into money and make this world a flourish with the facts of that. To remove all, there's no need for homeless. There's no need for these empty houses and everything that they've been doing. And it's not just the children that have been taken, the people that have been evicted out of the houses, that have been done and for council tax and so on and so forth. All these things and these counterfeit courts and everything that, like for Anthony, all these things can be converted into money. And once this has been completed, actually can really not just converted into a lien, can actually be converted into the physical material that we can. I mean, we know it's all make believe. We know it's got no value, but the point is, it worked. It worked, and it would have been continuing to work if we hadn't had those dirty, greedy people putting all these taxes in. Because, like you say, if you go back and look into history, you know, you're going to see that it never used to be taxed like this. You know, these things have all been brought in to strip the wealth from the world, to create people into a debt, because the debt is what controls people, not the money. It was the people that are in control of the money. But this will make every single man, woman, and child in control of their own money, because they are the bank. They are their own bank, or they have their own wallet, and they can create their own cash out of criminals, out of all the criminals. So what better would there be than turn everybody? You're now all policemen and women now, because you're going to hold every criminal to account, and you're going to convert them into some serious money. You know?
It reverses everything. It makes everything flow backwards.
Absolutely.
Back to us. Yeah.
All right, David. Well, we'll end on that one for that one. So, like I say, anybody out there that's listening, you know, give it out. Anybody who's got any ideas, anybody who wants to add anything to it, you know, bring it in. You know, and anyone who wants to come on and have a, you know, if you've got something to add to this, you know where I am. Just leave a message, and I'll leave my contact details as I always do anyway. So, okay then. Take care all, and bye-bye for now.
This is where we're up to.
Yeah. We continue to the next step.
We're at the end. We are at the end line. We're at that crossing point. We've got one foot on the finish line here.
Absolutely.
And all we need is that e-wallet. We can do the rest.
Absolutely. Take care then. Bye-bye for now.